So I was born and raised at Little Earth as a young kid. Grew up singing on the drum, and coming up at Little Earth is a very, very rough area. It's known for gang violence. It's known for drugs. It's known for just being tough, and it is a tough area, but it's also a loving area. It's a community. But as a young man growing up, it was really heavily, heavily controlled by gangs. Gangs controlled Little Earth in those days. So as a young man, I joined a gang. So I went from being a powwow singer to being a gang member, from being a gang member to a gang leader. So I was actually a gang leader over there, running a crew of guys, teaching a lot of our young men a lot of toxic and how to do illegal stuff. At that point in time in my life, I was also a young man. And to me, I was just doing what the older ones taught me. They taught me how to live illegal. They taught me how to live toxic. They taught me how to carry guns, how to fire guns, how to sell drugs, all the bad stuff that I'm totally against now. I learned that as a young man, and I guess you could say I was a leader because I became a gang leader, and so I taught a lot of young men how to live the wrong way, and that's also why I do what I do now, because now I am looked as a leader figure in the community. So now I'm trying to teach them the right way. I still have a lot of juice with the young gang members, not the younger ones, but they're older now, but they still come to me and look for advice on things, so I try to get them more involved in positive things in the community, what's going on. I still talk to I got a lot of brothers that are doing heavy prison sentences. They're seeing me on TV, newspaper. They're reaching out to me like, "Yo, bro, I want to, when I get out, I want to get in with you." So I'm using, I guess, the platform I created to push positivity in the community. So that's part of my story, from the gang member to. That's not even the full story. I went to a gang member, changed my life around. Mm-hmm. Was working at Little Earth, baseball coach, basketball coach, athletic director, cultural coordinator. I was teaching kids how to sing on the drum, just overall doing all kinds of things for the community. Security guard, we were running Little Earth Patrol back then. And then I became addicted to drugs. I got involved with pain medication through my doctor. And before I know it, I find myself stuck in addiction. It went bad. It went from just getting these pills, innocent enough for my doctor, thinking there was nothing wrong with it, like, oh yeah, these are my pain meds, or this is my medication, to running out of my medication, to buying it off the street, and then before I know it, I just walked away from my job one day because I was stuck in active addiction, and from there I went to, of course, I have to pay bills, right? And I gotta keep up with this addiction that I was dealing with at the time, and I started selling drugs. And I was selling drugs to my people, to my native people. I was bringing it down, my community down even more by being wrapped up in this. And I ended up getting caught. I got caught, and I ended up getting sentenced to 84 months in federal prison over it. And at the time, I felt like it was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. When you get you get thrown in that jail cell, and you're sobering up, and your mind's starting to come back to you. And then you start thinking like yourself again. And then you have to sit there and you have to live with that and let that soak in what you did. But you're also looking at a heavy prison sentence now. That was a tough pill for me to swallow. It was a tough pill. And after I went to prison, and also I blamed a lot of people. People who told on me, all these other people who got me involved in drugs. There was no accountability on my end. I was always trying to blame other people for how I was living. After I get to prison, they started pushing me with doing programming, treatment, all these other things, and I actually went through these programs multiple times. First time I just did it because I wanted to get my points dropped so I can go to a lower prison. And then when I was getting closer to the door, when I had about 3 years left, when I knew I was like, okay, I went from I got to survive in here to I'm going to be going home soon. I start thinking about going to that door, like freedom. What am I going to do with it this time? So I started taking those classes more serious, trying to find myself. And the big thing for me where I actually found myself was one of the classes I was taking. It was they have us do like these little worksheets in there. And it was about how do you want to be remembered? And in the worksheet, it was, if you died right now, what would they write in your obituary if they were being truthful? And I was sitting there thinking about it. Okay, I'm sober now, right? But people are going to remember when I was out on the streets. How was I living then? I was a drug dealer. I was carrying guns. I was scaring people. I was all kinds of things that were so negative, that no one could say anything good, So I wrote all that down, and the next part of it was, okay, what do you want it to say? And so I wrote down what I want to say, who I knew I really am inside. I am a good person, I am positive. I do want to do better. I want to see my community do better. So I got to write all that, and then at the end, it tells you, you're still here, you're still living. You can still change this to that. And how do you want to be remembered? And that's that was the turning point for me, because I thought about it, because we all do die one day, and how do we want to be remembered? I don't want to be remembered as a drug addict or a drug dealer or a gangster or a gang member or any of those things. I want to be known as a positive member of my community. I want to be known as a good father. I want to be known as a good brother, sister, role model, all them things, and that was the turning point for me. So from there, I still had 3 years in prison I had to do at that point. So I started looking at life differently, how I carried myself, how those toxic thoughts I always had about things, I learned about letting go. I learned about forgiving myself, which I know a lot of my brothers out here in the streets, they have a hard time doing that. And it was hard for me at first, but now it's easy because we're so prideful. We're so prideful, we don't want to admit when we're wrong, all these things. And when I was able to do that, now I can admit when I'm wrong, because we're all, at the end of the day, we're all just people. No one is perfect at all. You can have someone over here with a clean record. They might even be a big time community leader, but they're a toxic person deep down behind closed doors. So when I started figuring that out, I really started loving myself more and realizing who Vincent Dionne is, and that's why I'm so positive now. Some people do look at it as like a weakness in me, like Vinny, oh, you're giving them too much credit, or but I believe there's good in everybody. Just because someone's a gang member doesn't make them a bad person. Because someone's a drug dealer doesn't make them a bad person. They're just wrapped up in the wrong things right now. And that's why I've been trying to work hard to encourage those guys to come over here. Let's do something positive, because we're all a part of the community. We're all people. We can do something, with them. And I don't want them to go down the same road I did. You don't have to go do a huge, long prison sentence to realize who you are. So after I was released from prison, I started getting focused. What am I going to do with my life when I get out? And I knew I wanted to be a part of this community again. I prayed for it. I sat in my bunk late at night, like, if I get another chance at being in my community, I'm not going to mess this up. All I got to do is keep my sobriety and keep the same mind frame and actually be me, and just keep pushing forward. And that's what I've been doing. I get out of prison. I get my first job with the American Indian Community Development Corporation as a security guard, because, of course, I'm getting out of prison all buff and whatnot. And everyone's like, yeah, Vinny's the security guard, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. This isn't where this is a good start. This isn't where I'm going to end up, though, and it went from that job to another job that wasn't too good to another one. And then before I know it, I'm on the outreach team. I'm actually in the community helping my people that I grew up with, people that I was getting high with are out here, you know. And that's what made me good at my job, is because the people, they connect with me because I'm one of them. I was going through the same things that they're going through right now, and so they look to me for guidance and strength, you know. And so I started doing the outreach thing, and I started housing a number of our relatives. I've housed a lot of people. I got really well known here in the community just for my full-time job. And then I started doing all this other work. Then you know, when George Floyd got killed back in 2020, that's when the warrior in me got to come back out. The guy that I was trying to hide from. You know, when I left those prison gates, I also said, okay, I had to be a warrior in here, strong for our Native brothers in here to protect one another. But now I'm out here on the street now. I got to let that go. Then before I know it, boom, chaos. It was the most dangerous I've ever seen the city ever in my entire life. And I stepped up. The warrior in me stepped up. Okay, we need to get out here. We need to protect our people, you know. And like I said, I tried to dead the guy and sweep him under the rug, but he came back out, and people started looking at me differently for that. Okay, this brother's a warrior for the people, you know. And then AIM was reborn here in South Minneapolis, and then, you know, I started start talking with them a little more, you know, supporting them, buying their swag, their hats, their shirts, you know. Then they asked me to join, and I did join. We're also a member of the Little Earth Protectors I told you about. You know, that's a community group out of Little Earth that's pretty much just residents that live there that want to protect their community. You know, like I said before, it's a really rough place, so that could be, it's a very dangerous, and we don't get paid to do that. You know, it's a dangerous gig. But it's what I do. It's where I'm from. People know me there, so it's a little more, I guess, comfy for me than other people because I know who the tough guys are. You know, they respect me on that level, so I can go talk to them. More times than not, I can talk them down.